We have a 6-line day. We have reached the top of the hexagram for gate 31. And in the 6th line, it is called application. When you get to the end of leadership, you climb up there onto the top of the hill and you look at all of that collective pushing and shoving and the arguing and the graft and all the lying and the behavior that goes on in the collective leadership game. And you sit up there with your line of application. Now, the 6th line is a transition line. And we know that the transition is rooted in the awareness frequency of trust, or not. It's looking at the whole logical circuit. It wants to know, will this leadership provide humanity with a secure future? When you get to the 6th line, you get to that fundamental recognition of limitation. And this is what the 6th line gets to see or gets to experience. They get to experience the limitation of their own process. The 6th line here called application. This is not a gate of action, remember. There's no motor here. To manifest logic is very hard. That's why our collective systems are corrupt. Political parties, they're always looking for money, and sometimes they don't care where it comes from. It's so difficult to get the energy for the collective logic to move on. In the exaltation, it says actions which match the words and thus guarantee success. Leadership whose expression and action must be one and the same. We really only want to see those leaders who are going to practice what they preach, who will follow through with that. Leadership is about honoring the trust of the majority, not just pointing out at what the majority want without then actually doing anything about it. Not just parroting the words that the majority have said, but actually finding a way to act it out. And the 6th line knows how difficult that is. For example, we would like to see crime eliminated from our societies. Well, most of us would. But that doesn't mean that anybody knows how to do that. And it doesn't mean that when somebody says, we're going to eliminate crime, we're going to solve that problem for you, doesn't mean they really can. Because the 6th line knows, come on now, where's your proof? How are you going to do that? Show me the experiment that says that what you're going to do is really going to work. Yeah, can we trust that? Where's the value in that? So this is the sort of thing that it's trying to bring some wisdom maybe into the political leadership realm. And there is that potential in the 6th line, of course. There's a huge wisdom potential because of everything that they've been through and because of that slightly detached viewpoint that they have. They have a recognition, the 6th line, that it's very difficult to be able to do for the collective what the collective wants, because half of the collective is always going to be bitching at you for doing the wrong thing. And the 6th line, you can't be bothered with all that, really. In the detriment, we have a superficiality and application that borders on hypocrisy and is justifiably treated accordingly. The hypocrisy of leading in words, but not in action. So this is do as I say, not as I do. As you can see, it's a kind of an old-fashioned way of saying things, but the 31.6 is really about the concept of honor, which is also a bit old-fashioned these days, it seems. What is it to be honorable? And to be honorable in responsibility for the community or for the collective. Collective gates carry within them tremendous responsibility, because it is through the logical collective that we really do find a uniform base for facing life together. So how we are led and what kind of leadership we have logically is hugely important to us. 6 lines make great political pundits, the kind of people who are talking heads on news shows or political programs. the ones who are giving you their opinion about this politician and that politician. And, they're the kind of people when you watch them and you listen to them and you think, wow, they really know what they're talking about. Why don't they get themselves elected? They do a really good job. And then you kind of stop yourself halfway through thinking, yeah, but if they got elected, they wouldn't be like that anymore. It's something we forget about collective leadership. It's not about just one person. It's not about any group, in a way, any group of people who can directly change anything, because it takes a whole network of forces to be able to do that. It takes a collective will to be able to do that. The role of the 31 is to be able to communicate successfully to the collective, to get the collective to understand how and why they need to live together in certain ways, so their gift, in the end, this 31-6, is verbal. We're in an age where we can have direct contact with pretty much all of our leaders. Right, out of that, we have a greater involvement in the collective process. In many ways, our leaders are more relatable. Now we know all of their faults, all of their flaws, all their dirty washing gets hung out to be examined. Makes them seem so much more like us. I don't know how much of a good thing that is. Knowing what I'm like, I don't know if I want my leader to be like me. I want them to be more elevated, to be honourable, to have these qualities. Honourable leadership, wouldn't that be nice? In its journey around the wheel, the 31-6 is moving into the 33-1. It goes to the gate of retreat, to the abstract process. This first line in the gate of retreat is avoidance, which is all about just sitting there and going through the process of withdrawing in order to reflect on what has been, what experiences have we had. The 31-6 is saying, what I would really like to be able to see is that I am head of the party, that everybody votes for me, and then I bring in this program and we actualize it. Then I can sit over there in the 33rd gate and I can look back at the 31 and I can say, yes, I've reflected on it, and based on this experience, I have made a real contribution to society. The 41-6, grounding, it's called contagion. Wouldn't it be great if good leadership was contagious? The moon is still in the individual throat gate 23, the gate of splitting apart, the gate of assimilation, the awareness and understanding that leads to acceptance of diversity, and has a gift of innovative thinking that is independent. Well, it's independent of will, I was going to say, and also of emotion, because it's up there in the sort of throat, ajna. But it is dependent on correct timing. And also the correct language, the correct use of words to effectively express inner knowing. Then staying in individuality, the moon moves to the throat gate 8, and this is at 12:46. And this is called holding together, the gate of contribution. There can be a deep need to contribute individual efforts to group goals, while bringing something unique to the collective out of the individuality, thereby attracting attention and leading to the creation of an identity that is based on one's contribution. Because the 8 is looking at the 1, which is, of course, a G-center gate, the identity. And the moon then moves into the throat gate 20 at 22:40, gate of contemplation, gate of the now, an existential gate, not concerned with past or future, but with contemplating and being absorbed and awake in the now. And there can be an ability to articulate this. It is a throat gate, after all. It needs some awareness around it, because it's a gate of the now. It wants to talk now. It can be a really forceful voice that doesn't shut up. So some awareness, as I say, of the mechanic around this can be really very useful. And finally, we have the collective logic throat gate 16 at 8:38. And this is the gate of skills and enthusiasm. And we heard about this yesterday because Mars moved into this position. So that is our weather forecast for today. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. And I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? Oh, maybe I'll remember it for tomorrow. So yeah, new gate tomorrow. That's exciting. I will see you for the overview and for a line 1 tomorrow. Until then, go gently.